We'll talk about this today. SB 26-111. There's a typo, obviously. But what was it? It was a bill to prevent probation for class 4 and 5 felonies, sexual assaults against children. So these people think it's a good idea for actual child rapists to get out on probation instead of removing them from society. The guy on the top right there, Nick Henriksen, is if I'm not mistaken, yeah. So it was Henriksen. Um, he ran a bill to legalize prostitution. He tried to decriminalize child sex trafficking, and and you can, I mean, just look at the fucking guy. I mean, that guy, just look at him. I mean, both of them. I wouldn't trust those guys around fucking children. Not in a million fucking years. Katie Wallace is Senate Senator from Longmont in Boulder County, Senate District 17. She was the vacancy replacement in March 2025 for disgraced and now convicted state senator Sonia Jacquez Lewis. Wallace does not have an X account to help her keep accountable to the grassroots. Emailing her gets citizens' input on record, but that's as far as it goes. I know from personal experience. She was running unopposed to actually be elected in the November 2026 election. So there is no shortage of Democrats that want to protect these pedophiles. Yeah. Oh,
The box was still in the dark corner. In 2015, I brought it up with my therapist. She pushed me to tell my sister. 2019, a friend of mine was raped, and I shared my experience with her. 2022, I looked him up on the sex offender registry. He was convicted of sex assault on a minor 1 year after he raped me. 2023, I Googled his name for the first time. The stories were unrelated to assault, but it was the first time that I'd heard his voice since my assault. I felt like I was 14 again. I could not focus. I could not read. I was failing at my job. I could not stop crying. I sought help. I took a break from work. I reported my rape. And after I reported my rape to my therapist, what had happened in detail, he looked at me and said, Sarah, you were trafficked. I told him I was not. It was one night over and over again. I was not. He repeated. I cried. I did not have high hopes, though I thought I could get charges filed. I waited for weeks with no contact from the police. I began investigating it on my own. I found, excuse me, I found the friend that I ran into that night when I was dropped off with an unknown man. That friend remembered running into me and even remembered seeing me with that friend. That dropped me off with my rapist. I was able to narrow the timeline down to 1 week. I figured out where the apartment was. I was even allowed to walk in the actual apartment that it took place in. I know this because I looked up the address after I knew for a fact that that was the apartment. After waiting a few months, I was informed that my case would be placed on hold. I was disappointed because the police did not speak to anyone that could validate my story. I did not get the outcome that I wanted, but I'm happier today than I have been in many years. I do not feel as heavy. I know why I acted out as a child. And if I would have known that speaking out, sorry, Mm. If I would have known that speaking out would have set me free, I would have spoke out years ago. Thank you to the sponsors of this bill. It is long overdue.
Ma'am, thank you for sharing. Given given the obvious difficulty of what you've endured, if you would prefer to disconnect from the Zoom, no need to hang around for questions. In the meantime, we'll invite other witnesses. Shaq Powers, please go ahead.
I don't mind being questioned. Sorry.
All right, thank you. We'll hear from a few more witnesses, then we'll see if the committee has questions. Shaq Powers, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee for your time. My name is Shaq Powers, and I'm here as a father and a lifelong Coloradan. When an adult sexually assaults a child, should probation or any amount of freedom, for that matter, still be an option? I do not believe that any amount of freedom is appropriate for those who harm the most vulnerable and innocent among us. Right now in Colorado, for certain sexual assault crimes against children, a person can still receive probation instead of prison. This bill changes that for those specific child assault offenses. It says prison must be the sentence, and I believe that is the right call. Children are not in a position to protect themselves from adults. They depend on us to protect them, and in many of these cases, the person who harms them is not a stranger. The CDC says about 90% of child sexual abuse is committed by someone the child or family knows and trusts. That's not just assault, that's betrayal by a parent, a coach, a teacher, a caregiver, or another trusted adult. That kind of harm doesn't just disappear. Sexual abuse causes lasting damage to a child's health and well-being. It affects mental health, safety, trust, and development for years and often for life. This bill isn't just symbolic. The fiscal note shows that on average, 56 people a year are convicted of the crimes covered by this bill. And currently they may not be sent to prison. I understand there's concerns about cost, but some things are bigger than cost. This committee is deciding what message Colorado sends, and that message should be clear. If you sexually assault a child, you don't deserve any level of freedom. And the message to the victims should be clear as well, that though they could not trust the people of alleged trust who perpetrated these crimes against them, they can trust this committee to advocate for those too young to be able to advocate for themselves. A child carries this type of harm for years, often life. The law should carry real weight as well. Please vote yes on Senate Bill 26-111.
All right, thank you. Loretta Huff, please go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Loretta Huff. I'm speaking as an individual, a mother, and a grandmother. I'm here to speak in strong support of SB 26-111. I'll try to keep my comments shorter than planned because I agree with so much that's already been said. Ensuring that individuals convicted of assaulting a child face mandatory prison time rather than the possibility of probation reflects the severity of these crimes. When a child is harmed, accountability must be clear and consistent. SB 26-111 will help restore public confidence in the justice system. Families and survivors deserve to know that the law treats these offenses with the seriousness they demand. Even if the parole requirements are strict, a survivor is helped by knowing that at least for a time, the person who sexually assaulted them cannot harm them again. This is not about removing judicial discretion broadly. It's about setting a firm baseline where the stakes are highest, our children. It affirms that protecting children is a fundamental responsibility of our legal system. I urge you to support SB 26-111. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you. Missy Espinoza, if you can hear us, feel free to activate your camera. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not going to activate my camera. And I think it's silly that you prioritize people that activate their cameras. But anyway, Missy Espinoza, representing myself and speaking up for God's children. Do not touch them, period. We demand you pass this bill. Force the courts to incarcerate these monsters. Stop allowing them to put them back into our communities. We don't want them among us, free to prey on more children. Build more prisons. Do it. This legislative body has damn near decriminalized child rape and trying to decriminalize child sex trafficking. We saw you try to do it. We need you to do the right thing. And I don't want to hear that there's no money for it. You pass unfunded mandates every single week. Maybe don't send millions and millions to your NGOs. Try that.
All right, thank you. Cody Harrison, please go ahead. Feel free to activate your camera if you like.
Hello, my name is Cody Harrison. I represent myself and my young victim cousin. Military members know about Jody. Well, in the case of my blood, Jody, the man who was with my cousin's then wife, forced himself on this young girl who couldn't speak yet. Her life has been filled with with distrust, pain, and fear. There's no act that steals a child's soul faster than these acts. I personally support hanging these people in the town square, asking they don't get probation after our legislative body has denied mandatory minimums is the least we can do for victims. One victim is too many, and the perpetrators must be punished. Colorado is viewed as the most favorable state for pedophiles. Jeffrey Epstein has alleged ties to Diana DeGette, so I suppose it's not a surprise that these bills have been ignored. Children victims are not and should never be a political issue. Megan's Law exists, so we can take care of it if our body won't. The American people are tired of the LGBTQ plus population using the plus to repopulate pedophilia through children that aren't theirs. I end the rest of my time.